Against all odds, there is a belief amongst humans that persists through generations. That mastery over the mind and the senses can bring through years of tireless devotion, immortality. It's in the eyes of those that watch and in the hands of those that make themselves remembered for their feats of glory, inspiration, and self-sacrifice. They never back down. They leave it all on the battlefield.
All it takes is one punch from Splyce. G2 still fighting for the top spot. Triple kill, quadruple kill. It may not be pretty, but a win is a win.
Because they were built on the idea that with suffering comes learning, and with learning, evolution.
Last week we got third. This split, we have to do better.
The whole split we've been playing catch up, but at this point people have to come to us and beat us.
We're going to try everything in our power to make 12s, otherwise this was just a wasted year for all of us.
I can't wait to show people how strong we can be.
The thing we have that no one else has is that we've won 4 in a row. The G2 dynasty is to win, and we will make sure to keep winning.
Last split, this split, it wasn't the greatest times. We got kickies and we're so much better.
Falls in for the last split, and the winner is going to be the exact same too.
Fnatic topple G2 and are your spring split champions!
3 rookies prove themselves worthy of the top 4 in the EU LCS. A double kill from Perch! This guy is a madman! He can do it! Oh, Memento! You beautiful man! Yes, the Quadra! Gonna be a gangster for coming!
It's time to find out who will rise. This is the EU LCS.
Welcome to the start of the EU LCS summer playoffs. Throughout the next 3 weeks, 6 teams will fight to secure the title as we embark on the road to Madrid with Schalke 04 versus Splyce. We saw the teams there getting into the studio, getting ready for this momentous moment of the playoffs. I'm Eva Sjokz supporter here in Ready Check with Christian de Frierson and special guest Djoko from Giants. Welcome, gentlemen. Ender, first off, welcome. You came back from America. What have you picked up there?
Yeah, well, you see, I went to NA, went a little undercover in the NA LCS, and I uncovered one very important truth.
Yeah.
And that's if you leave a Kali open, she's just going to carry game. So my advice to all the EU teams out there, ban that champion, otherwise you're going to lose.
Ban a Kali. Djoko, thank you for joining us. And maybe the same question. If there's one word of advice that you could give our 6 playoff teams, what would it be?
Struggle.
It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, everybody's kind of close, you know, it's everybody playing the same standard and the same way, I feel like. And yeah, I'm looking forward.
So you're saying for them it's going to be a struggle, not very positive as an advice, just like it's going to be horrible. That means it's going to be great for us because it's shaping up to be a very competitive playoffs. And it got to this point because last week we had the epic conclusion of the regular season with Fnatic and Vitality securing the top 2 spots. Now Fnatic was locked in that first place. It seemed like the entire split, they were way ahead of the pack. But that rise of Vitality in the second half of the split is something truly special to me.
Yeah, I mean, they bring in Kikis in week 6 and have only lost 1 game since, which is absolutely incredible. And you take that into consideration that they wouldn't even had the opportunity to battle for second if Schalke had not lost to H2K on the final day. That gave us that 3-way tie and all the madness that ensued.
Yeah, Djoko, what did you make of the whole Kikis and Vitality resurgence?
I think Kikis, you know, he had like the background, you know, he's been there a while, like he's been to G2, Fnatic, all these big names, you know, and I think he has the knowledge that Gideus maybe doesn't have, and maybe bring a little bit of extra confidence for the rest of the players, and yeah, it fits pretty well. So Yeah, they're looking good.
I mean, he has a lot of confidence off the Rift, and one can only think that he also brings that to the team, which has made Vitality seem like a team that just puts so much pressure on their enemies when they play them. And that's also what we saw on the extra tiebreaker day. We had to play 3 extra games, and Vitality was up against G2 and Schalke 04. They won both their games, and with that very easily, I think, secured themselves the bye. G2 ended up in the 4th place, and Schalke in 3rd. Does that feel fair that these teams ended up in that position? Is that their strength level?
It definitely feels fair after seeing how well both Vitality and Schalke have done at the second half of the split, but it's still a major surprise because G2 were undefeated in the first 3 weeks of play and looked like they were going to be our number 1, number 2 team, and it all changed up in the second half of the split with the rise of the other two.
That it does, and this means that Fnatic and Vitality are locked in the semifinals, with the other 4 looking to join them in the next 2 days. And if you make it to those semifinals, you will be playing in Madrid, and it's all about the road to Madrid. It can be in the 3rd place match or in the finals. Before we dive into maybe the specific matchups, Djoko, when you look at the teams that made it in the end, you as unfortunately falling outside of playoffs with Giants, do you still think it is the right teams that in the end have those spots in the top 6?
Yeah, I think what happened this split should have happened in spring, and I feel like it's completely deserved from all of those teams. Like they are playing, they are working, they are trying, and they are good, so they deserve it.
Do all of them have a chance to get to the final?
I won't go until for that, but yeah, I think that they have a chance at least, yeah.
If they play at their peak, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you look at our bottom-seeded team, Splyce, they've still beaten both Fnatic and Vitality during the regular season, so there's upset potential for sure.
There is, and in Europe, we have reseeding when it comes to semifinals, so if we look at the bracket, that means if Splyce win today, they will go up against Fnatic no matter what, because they are the lowest seed going up against the higher seed. And if Schalke win today, they will be seeded against Vitality, because the other 2 teams are lower seeded than Schalke 04. So the winner of G2 Misfits will have the pleasure of playing Fnatic. And I want to talk about that possible route, because in the weeks leading up to playoffs, we said you always want to avoid Fnatic. Right now, it seems like you just want to avoid both teams, but you can't, so it's going to be a struggle, as Djoko says, in those semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, it's going to be very difficult, regardless of who you play against. But Fnatic especially, I would want to avoid, because you have to kind of prepare against 2 different teams if you play against Fnatic. You have the team with Reckless in the bottom lane, you have the team with Bwipo in the bottom lane, and then you still don't know who's playing top lane,
exactly.
even if Reckless is in the roster.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and especially I think for every mid laner who plays against Fnatic, I really don't want to play at their place, because they come from every angle and they just kill you, and you're like, all right, I guess I can do that. And yeah, you don't know what to do actually as a mid laner. Like,
it's incredibly scary. I just love the way everything is played out. I love that Vitality got the bye, because they look incredibly strong and probably the team that is most on form going into playoffs. And then here, it is almost impossible to predict. We'll get to that in a bit, but also G2 Misfits, you know, what Misfits is going to show up, what G2 is going to show up. And if they are strong, they could look incredible. If they're weak, who knows? I'm just super hyped. I think you notice it on my body language.
Yeah, I mean, the million-dollar question is which teams do show up. Because G2 and Misfits, again, undefeated during the first 3-4 weeks for those teams. They fell off at the second half, but they still have the players. They have the talent needed to win. They just all have to find that form once again.
Yeah, incredibly tight race. And the teams, they are not only fighting for the EU LCS trophy, but also for the right to represent Europe at the 2018 World Championship in South Korea. Here's Quick Shot to tell you more.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. Like you said, probably the most stacked playoffs we maybe have ever had on the road to Madrid in our Summer Split finals. That will conclude the split. After that, the next step is Worlds. And of course, how do you get to Worlds? Well, that's what I'm about to tell you. This is the Championship Points check-in. There are 3 different ways to qualify for the World Championship. The simplest and easiest is win the Summer Split. Easiest, he says. You get the number 1 seed. Of course, the second spot is earned through having the highest number of championship points. And that 3rd and final seed is secured by winning the regional qualifiers. Now, championship points are earned based on your position in the playoffs by combining both your spring and your summer placement. The table that I'm about to show you will demonstrate the differences between spring and summer split, and obviously the fact that summer split is worth more points. If you win summer, you auto-qualify, you make it to Worlds. Over the course of the 2018 season, only 8 EU LCS teams have earned championship points. And this table is going to show you the minimum guaranteed points for a team if they were to be eliminated right now. I'm going to use the Schalke and Misfits example. If they lose in their quarterfinals, they will get themselves 20 points. Now, whoever sits at the top of this table after the summer split finals, they will claim that 2nd seed for the World Championship and represent Europe. The 4 teams remaining below them will then be placed into a qualifier to determine that third and final seed. You'll notice that Rocket and HDK were eliminated. They didn't have enough points, and this is how the regional qualifier bracket will play out. That third seed will start with the 5th and 6th seed when it comes to championship points doing battle. They will then take on the 4th seed. They will then take on the 3rd seed, and the last team standing after Madrid will take that 3rd seed back to World Championships. Those games start on Friday, 14th of September, 1 week after Madrid. In summary, 3 seeds for Worlds. 1st, secured by winning Summer Split. 2nd, through championship points. 3rd, through running the gauntlet. And we'll be keeping you up to date right here on Ready Check with the championship points check-in. So, back to Sjokz and the gang. Question is, who will represent Europe at the World Championships?
Well, I think it's a safe bet to say Fnatic will probably make it, be it on championship points, be it if they win, be it if they get a great position in the gauntlet. I don't think that's too surprising. Outside of that, though, who are we thinking could make a splash at Worlds, Djoko?
I think Vitality against some Korean team and see if their aggression, is still there. And yeah, I think I'm looking forward for Vitality in Worlds. Never happened before.
So good. That would be so good. That would be just really unexpected, I think.
Pull out some Lux Pike bot lane,
Yes.
really pull out all the stops.
You Ender, another candidate?
Oh gosh, it's so tough. I think the quarterfinals will really tell us a lot when it comes to that, because I really feel like Misfits G2 can make that leap into a 3rd place spot, but I'm just not 100% on what their level is at the moment because it's been so up and down.
And I think that's what makes everything so exciting. Every team, if they step up, has the cards to make it to Worlds and to make it to the final. Now, we've also got a brand new patch for the summer playoffs, patch 8.16. We're going to bring down break down the changes, rather. Starting off with the junglers, we have a matchup between Xerxes and Amazing in our very first matchup of the day in the quarterfinal, but they're going to have to maybe dive into their toolbox because Talia and Trundle are nerfed.
Yeah, this is the big thing. The 2 junglers on the left, Talia, Trundle, did receive some nerfs. Talia lost some movement speed. Trundle lost a lot of damage on his Q, which is going to make his early dueling significantly weaker. So those guys going to take a big hit in priority. Sejuani is up here because she, I think, rises up as perhaps the #1 jungler on this patch, along with a few others.
I think it can be like that, I guess, but people like Sjokz or maybe Jankos who played Olaf a lot and they are gonna play this champ, and I think this champ is the best right now.
So is Olaf #1 for you?
Yeah, I think Olaf is #1 right now because it beats Sejuani, it beats everyone, it's strongest early jungle, and I think he has a place on the top right now.
I think it's super interesting to follow, especially with Amazing and Xerxes playing today. Xerxes historically has been the guy that has pulled out a lot of different picks. I mean, his Zac, he's almost famous for it. This could be an opening for him.
That's the hope, right? That being said, though, the Trundle was one of his best champions. He was the first one to play that
Amazing,
as well.
Undefeated on Sejuani. He did play Olaf, for instance, also as well. But I want to see if he gets his hands on it, because maybe it's something that teams should look to ban out. Let's move to the bottom lane. A couple of changes also to the support role. Tahm Kench and Rakan were nerfed, so that is good news for who? For Braum.
Yeah, very good news for Braum because he was already the most popular support in Europe. The 2nd and 3rd most popular were Tahm Kench and Rakan, so that gap between Braum and the rest of the viable supports and the other options that you have is going to widen up and make Braum a very high priority pick for all these teams.
If we look at this matchup, Kasing, of course, loves the Tahm Kench, but I also think he's shown a lot of things. He's played the Soraka, he's played the Pyke, so I don't necessarily think he's going to be in trouble. If anything, he could turn it into a strength.
Yeah, his hope is that with Braum taking that off the table, that opens up the pool to allow for a bunch of different other options. So you can play the Janna, the Zillion, to name a few. There's so many different picks that he's been known for throughout his career that could be really interesting.
We'll also see what kind of own meta the teams have developed in scrimming this week and what they bring to these quarterfinals. And as patches come and go, we lose champions that brought a lot of joy and smiles to the Rift. And this time, it is time for the aspect of Twilight. Her turn to say goodbye. May she rest in peace.
Please erase us from There's just one question I must mention, all of its complexity. Why?
Go. Unfortunately, gutted on the damage on her passive in general for Zoe. She cries in Niski, I think, in this one because
so sad.
She's gutted, but does this mean we're not going to see her anymore at all in playoffs, or do you think there's still place for Zoe?
I think Niski will always have a place for it. Like, yeah, I think so too. And maybe, I don't know, Perks, because as you see last week against us, he just, boom, one shot steal back, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. She lost 5% win rate in solo queue, which is a pretty good indicator for how hard she actually got hit.
These are professional players.
Yeah, they also play solo queue, and they also lost 5% win rate.
That's a great point. Yeah. No, they just only scrimmed this week. It has nothing to do with it. Just kidding. We'll see what goes up. Obviously, in certain matchups, she will still be viable. We'll see who decides to pick her up. But as we count down to our first series, we also want to tell you which players you should be looking at in the upcoming weeks. And we wanted to look at players that could be monumental in their respective teams' runs for playoffs. I'm going to start out with Sjokz. We touched on it already. Why is he, for you, Ender, the most important key to Splyce's playoff run?
Sjokz up there because he's the difference maker on this team. We've already seen a world where Schalke actually beat Splyce in a late game. So if Splyce want to win, they need to go back to their upset roots. This is the team that took down Team Liquid at Rift Rivals, that took out Fnatic earlier in the season. And it was all through Xerxes' early game playmaking on picks like Camille. I need to see him go back to those types of picks if they want to pull off a win today.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Xerxes is the strongest point to Splyce, and every time he's fed, everybody has a good time. So I think everything goes through him, yeah.
Alrighty, then moving on to the matchup today, very integral, is Upset. Now, I think for Schalke, we talk a lot about Njukduk. We talked about Amazing coming into that lineup, but Upset is a guy that had so much weight on his shoulders for so long, and I feel is finally bringing it home, is finally showing his true potential. How important is he for Schalke in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think Upset is like, even though he's not winning every lane, he still pull out a good team fight, and we can see that he's killing Kobe in team fight later on, and he's always there, you know, he's always doing this job, and I think he's a nice player right now. He great.
Yeah, and it's most impressive, too, because this guy just doesn't get any attention from the rest of his team. Amazing isn't ganking bot lane. Vander isn't staying bot lane. He's roaming on picks like the All-Star. So he loses gracefully and then really turns on in team fights.
Yes, so when we look at the list, the ones we've selected, we also have 3 AD carries in Upset, Reckless, and Attila. Maybe a question for you guys. Who's the strongest AD carry going into playoffs, Djoko?
I mean, right now, there's a big question mark, obviously, on Reckless, because we didn't see him popping off or anything. And Attila is like the guy, you know, he can play everything, so you don't really know like what's going on, but he's always doing the job. And Upset might be the one who has this extra peps, and I think, yeah, maybe it should be the one maybe right now.
Upset?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Attila might be up there as well, because he's the whole year actually flown under the radar, where he's played the mages almost to perfection. He's played the AD carries, and he's always done his job in the team and has been shining in the last couple of weeks. Reckless, big question mark. We'll see what happens. I do quickly also want to touch on Mickey X. Ender, you're very passionate about why Mickey X is so important for Misfits.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Misfits 1 back at the first half of the split, it's through their bottom lane every single time, and it's Mickey X specifically picking Morgana, basically scripting and landing every single binding to get those 2v2 kills, or he's on Rakan finding these miracle engages that basically win team fights before they even start for Misfits, and that's how they're going to pull off a win tomorrow.
Finally, Sjokz for G2 Esports. Djoko, he has been so hotly debated. He's playing tomorrow versus Misfits. What's going on, and what do you think he's going to do in playoffs?
I think this guy is a 50-50 jungler right now. He's kind of like me before, like I was, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, if you're going to int or if you're going to carry. And I think he needs to get back to his standard in H2K, because I reference to that point, because he was always winning against no matter what. And I was impressed, you know, by him. And I was okay, but why this guy can't keep it? And I thought first that it was all the funnel things, you know, okay, you need to get back on track with playing normal jungle, and I don't know yet, but I just want to see him playing like the first Blood King. Like, I don't know, I just want to see him play like that again.
Yeah, we need the first Blood King back, not the first Blooded King that we've seen a little bit in the last few weeks.
Yeah, we need to see him play with confidence and bring that, because you don't want to go into playoffs with a 50-50 jungler. That is just not going to help you any win. So Sjokz, we're looking at him for G2. And speaking of players to watch, on the Euphoria podcast, there was an unresolved bet involving Schalke's Njukduk. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to see is a pure showing of outstanding musical excellence, the likes to which we haven't seen since the Beatles.
EU to the Foria, y'all. Dropping that new single. Year of the duck, baby, hustle and groove. Talking king in the north, yeah, he got the moves appending. The way he got the haters depending on watching every game. Yeah, they looking to end him, but he's flawless, untouchable, never under duress. Playing picture perfect, he's immune to that stress. Can't be stopped, shut down, stutter to shame. Take a step back now, cause you're playing his game. DJ Cowbell beat Drakos. Year of the duck. Now you're looking on stage and he's hovering Z. Wait for that death mark, boy, but you're already dead. No breadcrumbs, please, cause he's already fed. That's the way it goes, son, just get out of your head. No time to recover, brother, get out of luck. Will your career ever recover from getting by the duck?
Yeah, pretty good. Hey, you guys forgot about Kasing.
Can you... Yeah, give me. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Kasing, he's a really nice guy. Sadly, he lacks the ability to fly unlike a duck!
That was absolutely great. You know, I think you said it when we watched the video a bit earlier in rehearsal. You got to just let the initial cringe wash over you and then just enjoy the glorious rapping skills of Drakos. It was great.
Yeah, I kind of liked it, like, at the end. At first, I was like, you know, what's going on? And after I was like, okay, actually, it's not that bad. Like, I see the works, you know, behind that.
Yeah.
Just needs a little bit more cowbell, that's it.
A bit more cowbell, but fantastic job by Drakos and by the Fishu, and also setting the stage for Nukeduck, because tonight, Nukeduck prepares for his first playoffs match since 2016, as he and the rest of Schalke look to secure a semi-finals spot. And Amazing said it in the opening video, for all the split we were playing catch-up, now the teams have to step up to us. I dare say that for the entirety of the organization's history, they have played catch-up, but now is the time for teams to step up to them. This is the first playoffs they are ever going to play, and arguably this is the strongest they have ever looked.
Yeah, and they made the change in the offseason. Remember, they said we need to bring in Amazing, a veteran shot caller, to lead this team to a deep postseason run. Now he's here after taking a few weeks to fully integrate and get used to the team. They're looking so good in the second half of the split.
The Amazing factor, Djoko, what is it that he changed?
Maybe, I don't know, it's just the key. Like, maybe it's just, I don't know what people needed, because he has the experience of schools. And I mean, I work with Scoobs, you know, and he work also with Scoobs. And I think this guy is really good at this job, during, like, especially towards my post. And I think he made him looking good. And that's why maybe right now he have, I don't know, these great moments in Schalke, because he's already know what to do. And yeah, I think this guy is just, I don't know, and maybe calming down people that maybe with Pride, you know, like, Pride is not the kind of guy who's going to say, okay, guys, you need to relax, you need to calm down, you know. So maybe Amazing brought this
Well,
thing.
if anything, he's brought all the experience, because he's been through it all. He even won an EU LCS title, so he's going to be able to calm that roster down, and the roster look absolutely unstoppable. But with that come the expectation if Schalke can finally make it happen. And for some extra insight on that, quick shot, he caught up with Schalke's coach, Djoko. Let's see what he had to say.
I'm joined here by Andre Kocher for Schalke. First of all, congratulations on making to quarterfinals. There's a lot of expectations on your shoulders and the team's shoulders. First EU LCS playoffs. How have you prepared to not let people down who have those expectations?
So obviously our preparation was a bit more extensive than on the regular split. We have only one opponent. We can focus on Splyce tendencies, on Splyce weaknesses and their strong sides, so we focus a lot on that. Also in terms of draft all around it, of what is the comfort of Splyce and as we match, because I think that this is a game where both teams have a really similar style, and it's going to be to whoever executed better. So basically that's how our preparation went. We also, obviously, it's not about not disappointing our fans. It's our thought is more on a positive side of letting them proud of us and making them grateful to have something to be grateful for.
I really like that pivot. And I have a slightly more difficult question. There's been some questions about whether or not Schalke could buckle under the pressure. You know, losing to H2K, dropping the game to Vitality in the tiebreakers. Is that something that we should be concerned about, or is this the 10-2 Schalke that's coming to play today?
I mean, we obviously our week of practice went really well. As some of the players mentioned, the week before we had some issues. That's why the H2K happened what happened. We also took it a bit too easily and tried some new stuff of playoffs, and that backfired into us. The Vitality one, I think it's more about we were a bit with the emotional charge of the day before. So I think that we managed to solve a lot of our issues. We had a really good week of practice, and I think that it's not the 10-2 Schalke that we'll see. It will be a better version of it.
Oh, that's fantastic news. All right, one very last question, Andre. What specifically do you have to do to take down Splyce today?
I think we just have to play our game. We proved throughout the regular season that we are a control team, just like Splyce. We just know how to push our advantages a bit better. We know how to play from behind, and we know how to snowball the game. So I think it's on our hands to lose a series or to win a series. It's also going to count a lot the experience that we have on our players, even though they are not on playoffs for a long time. We still have Chachi with a lot of experience, Vander, Maurice, Nuke as well. So I think that the experience will also count a lot. And Upset is just performing absolutely fantastic these last few days. And I think that bot lane will probably be the key of this game as well.
We'll see whether or not it is the year of NukeTech and the year of Schalke. Thank you so much for joining me. Good luck with your series.
Thank you.
Earlier today, I also caught up with Peter Dunn and asked him, as well as the analyst and coaching staff, exactly how Splyce would take down Schalke. And I have the following quote to report. Last time Splyce played Schalke, they had a strong showing in the early game. And this week specifically, they've been working on their mid-game transition. Less mistakes in the mid to late game, and that's going to be key for Splyce to take down Schalke.
Thank you very much. Quick shot, a great insight into both coaches. Of course, Andre Giotto saying, well, we are going to look better than how we looked coming into the playoffs. And for Splyce, the question is, what does their peak form look like? And when we look at their opponents, Splyce, they are playoff mainstays. They have always been there outside of the one time they fell out and went to relegation. Since then, it's only been up for Splyce. They've been to Worlds. They even played in the final. But I'm looking at them to take that final step. So the big question is, what Splyce are we going to see today? How far do you think they can go, Ender?
Well, after hearing the interview, I have a lot more faith in them working on the early game into the mid game and closing things out. That reads to me as Xerxes, we're going to see them on something that can pressure early on and hopefully get a lead so this team can close out.
When you look at Splyce, Djoko, they had a wonderful late season surge. They got third in spring, actually pretty unexpected, but it just shows that they have a couple of players who have a lot of experience and that have high highs. Do you think it will come out in this quarterfinal versus Schalke?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like Niski can carry, Kobe can carry, you know, and everybody can play and maybe get all the
picks or?
Yeah, not the picks, like the resources, and he can carry through this lane. That's what I meant. Sorry. And yeah, I think like Xerxes, like you said, like you mentioned, if he has an aggressive jungler, he can just, I don't know, make things much more easier, because we know Schalke, we know how they play. They play through mid game, through early game, and then they will try to focus one or two ganks in mid lane and transit it into bot. And that's what I think, like, that's why Xerxes need to do today. It's like try to, I don't know, challenge a bit more Maurice in the jungle.
Yeah, Xerxes versus Amazing. We'll be looking at that. And just for Splyce, I think the fact that they were able to do what they did in spring is a reason why I don't think we can underestimate them. And it's quite easy to go in that story of Schalke and the fact that they've had their organizational background and that they fought so hard for this and that they made it to playoffs. But these are guys that have shown wonderful things. Niski, I think, going from the most underrated or also not performing mid, I think, in the split to being one of the most consistent mids in the split. Is also
I mean, it started at Copenhagen with picks like the Cassiopeia and the Kassadin really popped off, carried that form over into the summer split now, and now we got to see the rest of Splyce level up around him in order to challenge Schalke.
So 30 seconds left until we get into our first quarterfinal. Predictions, let's see it. I'll start. I voted for Schalke. I am not 100% certain that they can do it, but I think if they play to the level that they have for most of the second half of the split, this should be their game 3-1.
Yeah, I've got a 3-1 for Schalke as well. That being said, though, this is going to be such a close series. Every game is going to be right on.
Djoko, you picked Splyce. Why?
Why? Because everybody is for Schalke. So I need to make an upset. So yeah, I went for Splyce.
And you believe they can do it. We will see, ladies and gentlemen. The wait is over. Let's kick off the 2018 EU LCS Summer Playoffs.